Oh, hello. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, seasons, felicitations, and wipe your feet.
My friends have something very special for you.
We're not going to open it before Christmas.
It's the world's biggest Christmas card.
Oh, but sweetheart.
Classic Christmas Radio Theater.
God bless us, everyone.
Yes, I need him. God bless us, everyone.
Featuring some of the greatest Christmas radio shows of all time.
Attaboy, Clarence. Attaboy.
And now here's your host and my favorite elf, Wyatt Cox.
We head back 68 years to Wednesday, December 9th, 1953, and an episode of Rogers-of-the-Gazette, starring Will Rogers, Jr. as the publisher, editor of a small-town newspaper. And we'll hear about that in the fight over Pastel Christmas Trees. I think a lot of you are too young to get this one, maybe. In the headlines of the newspapers of December 9th, 1953, a government-conceived fact-finding pact yesterday brought an armistice in New York's big newspaper strike, the worst in the city's history. Press rolling morning editions of some of the dailies hit the streets last night. Publishers of the city's 6 biggest papers accepted a compromise worked out by one of the government mediators. It's expected to increase publishers' costs $3.75 million a year in New York City. Eisenhower administration called upon the Supreme Court yesterday to outlaw racial segregation in America's public schools. It went straight down the line with the Truman administration in declaring that separate schools for Negro children, even if they're equal to those for white pupils, are illegal under the Constitution. But Virginia's Attorney General J. Lindsey Almond told the High Tribunal it was being asked to make a decision contrary to the spirit and intent and purpose of the 14th Amendment. Amendment provides that no state shall deprive any citizens of due process of law or deny him equal protection under the law. The white-haired Attorney General thundered that opposing lawyers were asking the court to amend the Constitution, quoting, "They are asking you to go farther than the Congress ever intended this court should go." Congressional reaction to President Eisenhower's speech and ranged from applause for his statesmanship to predictions that Congress might balk at authorizing an international atomic setup. Several legislators noted that Soviet Russia has already rejected American proposals for international control of atomic production. The president may giving official support to reports that the U.S. now has actual hydrogen weapons instead of only test devices. And the president, as we said there, proposing all atomic powers, Russia included, pool at least part of their atomic resources for peaceful purposes. And here's some quotes. "Atomic bombs today are more than 25 times as powerful as the weapons with which the atomic age dawned, while hydrogen weapons are in the range of millions of tons of TNT equivalent. My country wants to be constructive, not destructive. It wants agreements, not wars among nations." Those some of the headlines from Wednesday, December 9th, 1953, 68 years ago. And on the radio, Rogers of the Gazette, starring Will Rogers, Jr., which comes up next here on Classic Christmas Radio Theater. Thanks for spending part of your holiday with us here, Classic Christmas Radio Theater. Will Rogers, Jr. was not a great actor, but he was a name. And he actually, was a lot like his father in the presentation. And so you'll hear that in this edition of Rogers of the Gazette. And some of you may not remember when Christmas trees actually were real. And Christmas trees, then people started flocking the trees and making them white, and then using colored flocking so that the green Christmas trees actually were pink and purple and all sorts of different colors. And that's part of the objection in this episode of Rogers of the Gazette from 68 years ago, December 9th, 1953, Pastel Christmas Trees in the little town of Illyria. Georgia Ellis, Howard McNear, and Jeanette Nolan play significant roles in this edition of the program, along with Parley Bear.
Ladies and gentlemen, the editor of the Illyria Weekly Gazette, Mr. Will Rogers, Jr.
Thank you. Well, it's getting to be that time of year. I suppose you're planning a real old-fashioned Christmas. Most folks around Illyria are. Old-fashioned. I keep wondering what my grandmother would say if she knew that most Christmas dinners have been in freezers for months now. But the modern housewife is not so much concerned with cooking them as she is with thawing them out.
Rogers of the Gazette, offering you again transcribed another heartwarming story of a country newspaper and its friendly editor, and starring Will Rogers, Jr.
I'm Doc Clemens, a friend of Will's. Oh, there's no doubt about it. The pre-Christmas fever has hit Illyria. The Merchants Association's meeting tonight to plan what kind of decorations they'll have along Main Street. Of course, that doesn't concern me near as much as Will's annual Christmas party in the children's wing of the county hospital. The Gazette tosses a real party for those youngsters, with all sorts of entertainment from the community that Will lines up, and the finest food you can imagine, all home-cooked right here in Illyria. Everybody sings carols, and those kids have a wonderful time. No need saying, I guess, that the highlight of the evening is Santa's arrival with toys and fruit for every child. Of course, Will masterminds the whole thing, works the hardest and all that. But that Santa Claus always steals the show. He's jolly and fat and... Hey, that reminds me. I'll have to have that red suit let out.
If you don't bend to it, Will, it'll blow you clean off the street.
Oh, hi, Arlo. Yeah, you're right. Fella needs ground grippers just to keep from walking backwards.
This wind goes right through me. I keep meaning to go south in the winter, and then I get busy and forget all about it.
Well, if you just quit bucking this wind and give in to it, it'll blow you south in no time.
Looks like we're the only two fools out in this.
Yeah, and I'm going to correct half of that right now. Can I count on your hardware trucks to pick up the toys again this year?
Oh, sure you can, Will. Just give me a little warning.
Fine. Well, see you later.
Tonight, huh?
What do you mean?
The Merchants Association meeting to vote on the Christmas decorations.
Yeah, sure.
In the Pioneer Room at the hotel, 8 o'clock, sharp.
I remember, Arlo. Goodbye.
I'm not going through another one of these winters. By George, next year I am going south.
That door, I've chased papers all over the office all day.
Next time I'll use the keyhole.
I just finished picking up after Arlo Post blew in here.
Here, I'll help you.
Now I know what they mean when they refer to an ill wind. This one sure makes me sick.
Yeah, you're in pretty good form, Maggie. You want to write this week's editorial?
Well, if I may make so bold, it wouldn't hurt if someone wrote it. The last day or so, I've been wondering if you still worked here.
Now, Maggie. You know it's this way every year. Planning this party, lining up what everyone's to do, takes a lot of time.
Take your coat off. You'll get cold when you go out in the wind again.
I don't know. It seems sort of windy in here, too, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I'm sorry, Will, but when the wind blows, so do I.
I don't blame you. Well, we better anchor those loose papers before someone else with no imagination uses the door instead of the keyhole.
There. That ought to do it. No, I didn't think of that before.
Well, I got to get up to Hazel Burroughs and talk about the program for the party.
What's there to talk about? It's the same program every year.
Yeah, I know, but Hazel feels better if we talk about it each time.
What night are you having it this year?
I'm not sure of that either. Going out to the hospital tomorrow and talk to Miss Moran about that.
Well, if you're going to Hazel now and out to the hospital tomorrow, when are you going to write your editorial?
Tonight, I guess.
Tonight's the Merchants Association meeting. That's what Arlo stopped by to remind you. He said they were going to vote on the Christmas decorations for Main Street.
Yeah, sure they are. They vote every year, and every year they put up the same decorations.
Where have you say? Look what the wind blew in. I'll scream. Hi, Laverne.
Well, you sure cut down on conversation openers when you say that, Laverne.
That's all I've heard at the shop all day. We've had wind around here before. It seems to me we could all be a little more original. Oh, here, Will. I was coming this way, so I brought my ad over.
Oh, thanks very much. Still plugging those Italian haircuts, are you?
Of course. They're very chic, you know.
They're very something.
I love yours, Laverne. I wish I could make up my mind to have one.
Oh, you'd be stunning with one, Maggie. Why, with the lovely texture of your hair and the body to it, it'd be perfect for you.
I'm thinking about it. I really am.
Well, if you are, you'd better make an appointment soon. That's what my ad's about. Well, some of my operators are already booked up through Christmas Eve.
Now, Laverne, what gets into you women? First, you let your hair grow about 50 pounds worth and pile it up on top of your head so you look 8 feet tall, and then you turn around and chop it down to nothing but a few wisps here and there.
That, Will, is called fashion. Change is exhilarating. It's challenging and stimulating.
And it makes money for beauty operators, huh?
So they buy ads from newspaper men, so everyone's happy.
Except the newspaper men who have to look at the women with their heads practically shaved.
Well, you're just set in your ways. That surprises me a little about you, because you're always advocating changes in the Gazette, always urging improvement.
Now you're getting there. Always urging improvements, yes. But all changes aren't improvements. And I do mean women's hairstyles.
Maggie, you'd better help me work on this guy.
Oh, I was just thinking, if Will feels as strongly as he says he does about these haircuts,
That's my girl, Maggie.
then you can put me down for the first open appointment.
Come in, Will, before you catch your death.
Thanks, Hazel.
Oh, the chill goes right through you, doesn't it? Take off your things. I've got a fire going in the parlor and some coffee on the table.
Sounds good, Hazel. Well, now then Oh, by golly, it's windier than I thought. Look at your hair.
What about my hair?
Well, it's all blown crazy. It sticks all around. Look in the mirror.
I don't have to look in the mirror. If you must know, I paid $3.50 to get my hair blown this way at Laverne Beeheimer's New Look Beauty Shopee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hazel.
Well, I'm beginning to be myself. Now, come on in and warm yourself and put some coffee in your mouth so you won't say anything else about my hairdo.
What does Harry think of it?
Hasn't said a word. Can't tell whether he's struck dumb or just isn't speaking to me. Sit down, Will.
Thanks.
Now, help yourself if you take cream or sugar.
Black's fine, Hazel.
Well, I've been giving the Christmas program a lot of thought, Will. Oh, you've arranged for the toy pickup, I suppose.
Yeah. I saw Arlo post this afternoon. Now, as soon as we decide on the day, why, he said we could use his trucks.
Well, the reason I asked, Emery Locke was over last night, wondered if you still planned on the volunteer firemen repairing the toys and painting them up like new and all.
I'll have to give Emery a call. Yeah, sure, we're planning on them, just like we always do.
Well, I know Doc to be the Santa Claus again because I get the honor of letting out the seams in that red suit of his again this year.
Maybe Doc's trying to use too many pillows.
What pillows? All that soft padding belongs to the good doctor himself. If it's pillows, it's its own flesh and blood. It's a good thing he doesn't make no show about coming down the chimney.
I guess it is at that.
Well, now about the program. I thought I'd play the piano, of course. Jingle bells to start off with, and Santa Claus is coming to town, and Roscoe the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That way we'd save the carols. What's that?
It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh.
I don't think it's very important.
Let's see now. Where were we? Oh, Jingle Bells, and Santa Claus is coming to town, and what's his name, the Red-Nosed you-know-what?
All those are your piano solos, huh?
Uh-huh. And after that, I'll recite 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
And after that, John and Sam and Emery will appear in their bathrobes with their heads tied up in towels and sing We Three Kings of Orient Are.
That's right. And let's put a pin right there, Will.
Right where?
In John's bathrobe, or else give him a new one. I noticed last year, somewhere between Moor and Mountain and Field and Fountain, John had a hole in the back of his.
I'll give him an early Christmas present.
Good. Then, I guess the rest of the program is just about the same as last year's. Unless you have some suggestions.
No. I thought last year's was just fine, Hazel. All thanks to you.
Oh, you know I just love doing it, Will. Not having any of my own, I'd just like to be near youngsters at Christmas. And those sweet little souls at the hospital, well, it just makes me happy to be with them, that's all.
I know it does, Hazel.
It's just like those green trees all lighted up along Main Street, Will. It all makes Christmas for me.
I know just how you feel. Well, morning, Maggie.
Hello, Will.
Oh, hi, Doc. Didn't see you over there. Come by to pass the time of day, did you?
This is a professional call.
You sick, Maggie?
Not me.
I came by to examine your head, Will.
My head?
Now, Doc, he may have a good excuse.
He better have.
Me? Excuse for what?
For why you weren't at the Merchants Association meeting last night.
All that. Well, I could say I forgot all about it. But to tell you the truth...
That's what we want to hear.
Okay. It was so blame cold and windy, and the house just felt so nice and warm when I got home to dinner, I just plain decided to stay at home, and I did.
I wish you'd lied and said you forgot about it.
That wouldn't have solved much, Maggie. Well, Mr. Rogers, I sure hope you enjoyed your comforts last evening.
Oh, I did some work, too. Wrote my editorial, Maggie.
King.
Well, what is this? What happened last night that was my fault?
Tell me this first, Will. What kind of Christmas trees are you partial to?
Well, you mean pine or fir or spruce?
I mean, do you like green trees or white trees or blue trees or what?
Oh, I'm a green tree man myself, all the way.
Then it's most likely that if you had bothered to attend the meeting last night, you would have voted with the green tree crowd.
The straight ticket.
Well, bully huzzah on a tiger for you, because you're the man who just cost Illyria its green Christmas trees this year.
You mean they're not going to have green trees on Main Street like they always do?
They are not. By one single, solitary, irresponsible vote, the Green Tree crowd lost out to Laverne Beeheimer and the Lunatic Fringe.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. All along Main Street. Pastel-colored Christmas trees.
You are listening to Rogers of the Gazette, starring Mr. Will Rogers, Jr.
Now try to control yourself, Arlo, and just tell me quietly how it happened.
Well, I don't like to relive the scene much, but I guess you got a right to know. May I say first that 39 of the 40 members of the Merchants Association saw fit to attend the meeting.
I'm the worst kind of a bum. I've already admitted it. But believe me, I never had any idea there was a resistance movement on against green trees, or I'd have been there.
Well, I don't think any of us suspected it. Laverne and some of those ladies ready-to-wear girls apparently have been working underground, silent as termites for some time.
Well, did they come right out and say they were for pastel Christmas trees?
No, they were much too clever for that. They let the green tree boys make the motion that we use the same old decorations. Then when it came to a vote, the 15 of them rose as one and voted it down. Now, you see, well, if you'd have been there, we'd have had one more green tree vote. And that would have meant a tie. And as president, I'd have broke the tie.
And you're a green tree man.
Till the day I die.
Well, there's no two ways about it. I'm the meanest man in town.
A lot of folks think so, Will. A lot more than we're going to. Long about the time Laverne, the girls start putting up blue, pink, and yellow trees.
How'd you settle on the colors?
Who settled? It isn't as if it was put to a vote. Not a clean-cut vote, anyway. You see, we was all still on the ropes from the defeat for the old decorations when someone got up and nominated Laverne as head of the new decorations committee.
Oh, I see. And she appointed her own committee, I suppose.
That's been the custom, and the next thing we knew, they'd put their heads together over in the corner. And just before we adjourned, she announced the committee report. I think I'd have struck her, save for the fact that she's a woman.
They didn't make any slip-ups. I mean, the vote's legal, and nothing can be done to change it.
Nothing can be done. Come to think of it, you're the one that ought to be struck.
Well, I'm open for it, I guess.
Oh, I'm joshing, more or less. Not that I wouldn't like to flail away at you if it'd do any good, but I'll tell you, Will, there was a lot of strong talk against you last night. Oh, providing you weren't sick or something.
No, I wasn't sick last night. But I feel pretty sick today every time I think of those pastel trees along Main Street.
Well, how about me? I feel like a traitor to my own cause. Being the only paint store in town, I'm the one that has to sell them that pastel paint.
No, he still isn't here, Sam, but I'll tell him you called. Well, I don't know exactly when he'll get back to you. He's had quite a few calls. I know. I know all about it. All right, Sam, I'll tell him. Oh, poor Will.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi.
Any calls while I was at Arlo's?
14 by actual count.
My colleagues of the Merchants Association.
Just the green tree contingent.
Any threats on my life?
Just one, from Sam. He said he wouldn't trust himself to shave you for a while, and intimated you'd better get your haircuts from Laverne Beheimer.
Well, I guess I had that coming.
Darn it. I wish I could do something to help you.
That's nice of you, Maggie. But unless you have any way of turning back the clocks of yesterday so I could go to that meeting last night, there isn't much way you can help me.
Well, everyone's acting like they'd never made a mistake in their lives. They're all so self-righteous because they went out to a meeting on a cold night and you didn't.
I can't really blame them, Maggie. I'm darn sure I'd have felt pretty self-righteous myself if I'd have gone out last night.
Hello, Maggie.
Hi, Hazel.
Will? I don't know what to say to you.
Now, don't be choosy, Hazel. Just say anything. Everybody else has.
Well, I don't mind telling you. I had to hear it from a lot of people before I'd believe it.
A lot of people are talking about it, are they?
Oh, my. It's all over town. Folks huddling in little groups, talking of nothing else in the wide world but pastel Christmas trees.
December 9th, 1953, Rogers of the Gazette. The town's all in uproar over pastel Christmas trees. Right here on Classic Christmas Radio Theater.
Here's a great thing to consider doing right now before the end of the year. Call Medishare and find out just how much you would save by switching to Medishare, the affordable alternative to health insurance. When you call, you'll get some good news and probably be very happily surprised, too. The typical family saves $500 a month, but you might save even more. It's so worth it to at least find out. And you'll see why more than 400,000 people are already members. Medishare is a Christian community that's shared more than $4 billion in each other's healthcare costs. It really is remarkable, and they're very easy to talk to. And here's the thing. If you join before the end of the year, they'll waive your new member fee. That's another $170 you'll save. I'll give you the number here in a second. The call, and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is December 31st, so call now. You'll save even more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Thanks for being with us with Classic Christmas Radio Theater. Will Rogers Jr.'s career was one of, a very, very minor career. Being the eldest son of Will Rogers Jr., he found himself thrust into the spotlight. He was elected to the House of Representatives from California, but he was also in the Army, so he ended up resigning and going back to his work in the 814th Tank Destroyer Battalion. He served in the European campaign in General Patton's Third Army. He was wounded in action, received a Bronze Star, and he later won the Democratic nomination for Senate from California. He lost in the general election to the incumbent Senator William F. Nolan. He was a delegate to the Democratic National Convention in 48, 52, 56, and special assistant to the Commission on Indian Affairs during the Johnson administration. Not much in the way of acting, I really have to tell you. That the sad part was his ending. He retired to his ranch in Arizona. He suffered several strokes, had heart problems, had hip replacements, eventually committing suicide in 1993 at the age of 81. Will Rogers Jr., a minor footnote in the entertainment industry, but one that I think we should remember as trying to carry on the legacy of his father, Will Rogers. Rogers of the Gazette and the Pastel Christmas Trees. We'll have the conclusion next here on this edition of Classic Christmas Radio Theater. Now let's head back to Illyria and find out what is going on regarding those pastel Christmas trees. Rogers of the Gazette, starring Will Rogers Jr., 68 years ago, December 9th, 1953.
Why, even Harry knows about it. And he's always the last person in town to know anything. You know that.
Well, talking isn't going to do any good. Don't they know that?
Apparently not. Of course, I say there's no sense mushing around and spilt milk. The thing is, what can we do about it? Besides, spit right in Laverne Beeheimer's eye.
Fair sampling of public opinion might indicate that it's my eye you should aim for.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I've heard talk of stringing you up to the highest, pinkest branch of the tallest Christmas tree. But I say Laverne ought to have better sense, and I'm on my way to her shoppy to give her a good talking to. Get her to calm down this hair.
Well, I hope you do some good, Hazel. I wish I could think of something to do.
To tell you the truth, Will, you'd better come up with some good, bright idea, because some folks are mumbling around about not supporting the Gazette's Christmas party for those children, all on account of your neglect last night.
Now that's the end, the very end of all the spiteful
No, easy does it, Maggie. But they're not thinking straight on that, Hazel. Well, they'd get back at me all right, but surely they wouldn't want to disappoint those kids at the hospital.
I can't believe they would, Will. I'd swear they wouldn't. But then, as recent as yesterday, I'd have swore I'd never see Easter egg-colored Christmas trees gracing Main Street.
You come down to the children's wing with me?
No. I'll find Miss Moran in her office and talk to her there. I kind of doubt if I could make it down to see the kids today.
Well, they always ask about you, especially this time of year.
Yeah, well, we'll tell them hello for me. Tell them I'll see them later on. I don't think I can face the kids just yet, Doc.
Well, what'll I do? I mean, a lot of them will probably have their letters to Santa Claus all written. In the past, I've always told them I'd mail the letters for them.
Yeah, you can take their letters, Doc. Those kids are going to have a Christmas party if I have to play Rudolph the Blue-Nosed Reindeer myself.
All right. I'll stop back for you, son.
Hello, Miss Moran.
Why, Mr. Rogers, how nice to see you. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Children have been asking for you. Want to go down and see them now or after we've finished our little talk?
Oh, well, I'm in sort of a hurry today, Miss Moran. I'll get out to see them real soon.
I hope so. You'll never know what you do for them, Mr. Rogers. They look forward to that Christmas party the whole year long.
Yeah, well, so do I, as a matter of fact. You got a full list of them, I suppose.
Here we are. Their names and ages. And I've noted a few small little things they may not ask for, but I know will please them.
That's good. Now, do you think early Christmas Eve is as good a time as any for the party?
I think that's perfect. Now, if there's anything I can do, I hope you'll let me know.
Oh, I will, thanks. And if you get any ideas, you just give me a call.
I could use a hand with decorations, just anything. I'd like it if the place didn't look so much like a hospital, at least on Christmas Eve.
Oh, don't worry about the decorations, Miss Moran. There's every chance there's going to be an excess of Christmas decorations in Illyria this year.
Wonderful. We'll welcome anything.
You ready, Will? Hi, Miss Moran.
Hello, Dr. Clemens. Or should I say Santa Claus?
Yeah, go ahead. Call me Santa Claus. Because the way things are going, you might not recognize me as Santa Claus come the party.
Oh, why is that?
Oh, hasn't Will told you? In keeping with the modern conception of Christmas, I stand to show up here in an orchid spacesuit sporting one of them Italian haircuts.
Oh, Doc, lay off, will you?
Where's Maggie?
Oh, hi, Laverne. Oh, she's off somewhere, the post office or somewhere like that.
Oh, I'm sorry to miss her. Most of the men are turning this over to the women in their places of business. I just suppose you'd want Maggie to take care of it for you.
Take care of what?
Well, here, I'll show you. There we are. Now, here are the plans for street decorations, just roughly designated, of course. But as you see, this is Main Street along here.
Mm-hmm.
And as it works out, there'll be a tree in front of each place of business.
I see.
Now, we're going to paint the trees tomorrow night. What shade would you like?
I get a choice?
Well, as nearly as possible, so long as all the colors blend. We're trying to be fair and give each proprietor his choice.
Oh, well, that's fine. I'll take green.
Chartreuse?
No, just plain old green tree green.
Now, Will, that's old hat. We decided at the meeting.
Well, yeah, that's my choice. That's it.
Oh, you men, I get this everywhere I stop. Now, you do have a choice. In the greens, there's chartreuse and lime. Then you may have ice blue or robin egg blue, burnt orange, which is stunning.
It's all stunning.
Butter yellow, cerise, and shocking pink.
These are Christmas trees you're talking about.
Don't be facetious.
What color's that?
On you, it's sort of an ash gray.
Now, you going to have ornaments on these trees, or is that old hat, too?
Oh, the ornaments, Will. Now, they are really spectacular. Charcoal gray and stove black.
Oh, Laverne, for heaven's sake.
It's usually at this point in the discussion that the men in the business turn it over to a woman to make the choice. Now, if Maggie were here, I could...
She'd punch you right in the nose.
I'm not going to take much more of this abuse, Will. After all, I represent the party in power at the moment. That vote the other night was duly taken, you know.
I know it was. And in case I forget it, a lot of people are quick to remind me. Laverne, now, does it mean anything to you at all that about 95% of Illyria wants regulation Christmas trees with regulation Christmas ornaments on them?
You should have thought of that the other night and showed up at the meeting.
You're right. I should have. But I'm going to make up for it somehow. Laverne, you just can't do this to Christmas.
You just try and stop me.
I tell you, Arlo, I don't mind taking my own medicine, but I sure hate to have the whole town have to swallow it, too.
I guess you sampled a little public opinion, Will.
Talk to everybody who'll speak to me. And nobody, except Laverne and what Doc calls a lunatic fringe, want these preposterous Christmas decorations.
Well, Christmas should be more she-she.
What?
Well, that's what Laverne said when she was in here this morning.
Sounds like a bad song title. I'm dreaming of a she-she Christmas. Well, now, that's one thing. She can't change the old traditional Christmas music much. Or isn't she going to have those loudspeakers rigged up on Main Street?
Well, yeah, she's already arranged for that. Les over at the music store was in a while back. He told me she was coming back later to pick out the rest of the music.
The rest of it?
Well, she's only settled on one song so far, something called Santa Baby.
Oh, now look, Arlo. Something's got to be done about this.
Well, I'm thinking of doing something.
Like what?
I keep meaning to go south in the winter. It looks like this is the year.
Thought you were serious.
I am. I'm thinking about it real serious. And I'm not alone either. Several of us checked with the railroad, found that we can make good connections in the city with the southbound limited.
You mean you're going to run out?
Well, some of us look on it more like we were being run out, Will. No one likes to leave their homes at Christmas time, not to mention closing down businesses and losing revenue. But there's a limit to what some of us will take. And a pastel Christmas tree with stove black ornaments is mighty near the limit.
Well, I can't blame you. And I don't suppose I can stop you any more than I can stop Laverne.
Well, what color tree are you going to have perched in front of the Gazette office?
We never settle that. And of the choice of colors she gave me, it was... Say, tell me this, Arlo. Now, you're a paint man. Where'd she come up with that bunch of colors?
Well, they're perfectly good colors, all right. They're not too Christmassy. But there's nothing wrong with most of those colors. Put in their proper place.
Well, maybe not, but... Their proper place. Say, Arlo, has Laverne bought that paint yet?
No, said she meant to do that later today. Wants to talk to me about spray guns, she said, and how to mix the colors proper and all that sort of thing. And... Will, you got an idea?
I've got a first-class idea.
Will. Just lovely.
Oh, I don't know, Laverne. It looks more she-she to me than anything else.
All right, it's she-she.
Well, now this blue one's finished. Where else do you need me?
Oh, let's see now. Doc's done one in peach. Maggie and Hazel Burroughs are working on a pale pink one. Oh, here. I guess you can help Arlo and Sam.
Yeah, what color paint are they using?
Butter yellow.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, you never cease to amaze me, Will. When I described these colors to you yesterday, you said some terrible things.
Yeah, but that's when you were talking about using this paint on Christmas trees.
Well, maybe it does look better on the walls of these hospital rooms.
I think so.
I still think you were pretty sneaky to buy Arlo's stock of pastel paint so I couldn't use them on the trees.
I was a positive cad about it.
Oh, how wonderful this room looks.
You like it, Miss Moran?
I love it. Every room I look at is the most beautiful color I ever saw.
Well, this room isn't too bad, Will. Of course, that peach job I just applied across the hall is really the class of the children's wing.
Well, I've said all along that as a doctor, you'd make a good painter.
Ho, that's rich.
I don't know how we'll ever thank you. When I asked for help on decorating the children's rooms, I really meant Christmas decorations, you know. But now they'll enjoy these soft pastel walls the year round.
Yes, and Main Street will have its traditional green trees for the Christmas season. You won't mind so much, will you, Laverne?
Not after putting this paint to such good use, Doc. I guess we can thank Will for both decorating jobs.
No, you're the one to thank, Laverne. Why, I might never have thought of painting the children's wing if you hadn't planned your wild color scheme for Main Street. You practically drove me to it.
You have just heard Rogers of the Gazette, starring Mr. Will Rogers, Jr., with Parley Bear as Doc Clemens and Georgia Ellis as Maggie Button. Our story was written by Kathleen Height and produced and transcribed by Norman MacDonald. Featured in the cast were Jeanette Nolan, Howard McNair, Elaine Williams, and Virginia Gregg. The special music for Rogers of the Gazette was composed by Rene Garrigank and conducted by Wilbur Hatch.
December 9th, 1953, Will Rogers, Jr., Rogers of the Gazette. Let's go back a little further to the little house down the block. Vic-n-Sade. This episode from November 21st, 1939.
Now, and here in the living room we find Mrs. Victor Gook and young Mr. Rush Gook. Sade is seated in the easy chair beneath the floor lamp darning socks, while her son, lying shoelessly on the davenport, stares at the ceiling and thinks thoughts. These thoughts have crystallized into words now, apparently, for we hear the young man say,
Mom, remember the other day me saying I thought I could reasonably expect to receive 20 presents this Christmas?
Uh-uh.
I was telling Dove, but you happened to be in the room.
I guess I wasn't listening.
Well, that was the figure I arrived at after long study. I estimate I'll receive in the close neighborhood of 20 gifts.
Quite a few.
Yes, it is. 20 is a good round figure. Smelly Clark, though, is going to make me look like a plugged nickel. He's going to get Christmas presents till who laid the junk. Boy, I wouldn't be one bit surprised if that guy received 120 Christmas presents.
Man.
He might even receive 220 Christmas presents.
I never knew Smelly was as popular as all that.
Well, it ain't that he's so popular, it's that he's smart. Mom, do you know how he spent last Saturday?
No.
Smelly Clark spent last Saturday sitting in the reading room of the Butler House Hotel writing letters.
Writing letters to who?
Everybody. See, in the reading room of the Butler House Hotel, a person can sit down at one of the little desks and help themselves to free stationery. Also, you get the free use of a fountain pen on a change. Smelly went in the hotel at 9 o'clock in the morning and wrote letters till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He'd have stayed till 6 o'clock if the management hadn't kicked him out. He wrote 24 letters.
Well, who'd he write them to?
Friends, acquaintances, neighbors, cousins, second cousins, third cousins, uncles, aunts, great aunts, everybody.
Asking them to send him Christmas presents?
Never even mentioned Christmas. He wrote chatty little stuff. By gosh, Aunt Helen, it's been so long since I dropped you a line, I thought I'd better take my pen in hand and write you the news. I'm feeling fine and doing well in school. I hope your health is good. I often speak affectionately of you to my friends. That kind of dope.
His idea was to get Christmas presents, wasn't it?
Oh, sure. He was planting the seeds.
Kind of a grabby way to do business, seems to me.
Well, yes, perhaps so.
Very grabby way to do business.
Smelly's making kind of a game out of it, get the angle. He wrote 24 letters to people. If he bats 1,000%, he'll receive 24 presents as a result of them 24 letters. Maybe he'll only bat 500%. Maybe only 1 dozen will come through. I think Smelly ought to reap a rich harvest. Look, suppose you had a nephew, age 14, living in Des Moines, Iowa. You haven't heard from this nephew in a long time. All of a sudden, you receive a nice chatty letter from him. Wouldn't you think to yourself, why, what a fine young gentleman my nephew is? I think I'll remember him at Christmas time. Wouldn't you think that?
No.
Sure you would.
I'd think, why, what a horrid, grasping little nephew I thought. He writes me letters hoping he'll be able to squeeze Christmas presents out of me.
No, but Smelly's letters are smart. He didn't make the slightest reference to Christmas. He wrote chatty stuff. By gum, Uncle Ed, how's that bum leg of yours? I often think of you and Aunt Mildred and wish we could see more of each other. Of course, a few of his letters was just pot shots in the dark. For instance, he wrote to a friend of a friend of a friend of his father's.
Oh.
Well, Smelly had nothing to lose except the 3-cent stamp for postage.
Well, what did he say in his letter to this friend of a friend of a friend of his father's?
Chatty dope. I've heard different parties praise you and your good looks on many occasions, Mr. Schwartz. It certainly would be charming to make your acquaintance. Next time you're in the city, please look me up.
Mr. Schwartz is supposed to read the letter and then send him a Christmas present, huh?
Sure. Ish. Well, he might. He might think like this. By golly, that Smelly Clark must be a clever lad. I'll just skip downtown and buy him a $2 necktie.
Oh, for mercy.
So Smelly's making a game out of it, get the angle?
Uh-huh.
Here's another stunt he's been pulling around town. Suppose I'm Mr. Alfred Johnson, and I got a fountain pen with my name on it. And Smelly knows I got a fountain pen with my name on it.
All right.
Smelly will come up to me and he'll say, Mr. Johnson, pardon the personal nature of the question, but do you happen to own a fountain pen with your name on it? I say, why, yes, I do. Then Smelly says, drat the doggone luck. I just had the clerk down at Empson's jewelry store lay one aside for me. Catch on?
Smelly's just the same as telling you he bought you a fountain pen for Christmas?
Exactly. And then he goes on to say, just forget about this conversation, Mr. Johnson. I'll have Empson's jewelry store exchange the fountain pen for something else.
Well, that's awful.
It's pretty raw, all right.
Well, let me catch you up to any such monkey shine.
Okay.
Pardon the personal nature of the question.
I'll demonstrate how Smelly'd work that scheme on you.
All right.
I'm Smelly Clark, and I happen to know you've got a bracelet with topazes in it.
All right.
Hello there, Mrs. Gluck. How are you feeling today?
Just fine, thanks, Smelly. How's yourself?
In wonderful shape. Say, Miss Gluck, pardon the personal nature of the question, but do you happen to own a bracelet with topazes in it?
Why, yes, I do.
Oh, drat the rotten luck.
What's the matter?
I had Hamilton's department store lay one aside for me.
Really?
Yeah. But that's okay. They'll let me have something else instead. Just forget we had this conversation.
Oh, all right.
Goodbye, Miss Gluck.
Goodbye, Smelly.
See how it works?
I know he's buying me something for Christmas, so it's my cue to go buy him something for Christmas.
Sure.
Rush, I don't think that Smelly Clark's quite bright.
He's as bright as a silver dollar. Ish. You be Mr. Harry Jones that used to own an automobile, but don't own it anymore.
I understand how that works.
This is a variation of it. Go ahead.
Who am I?
You're Mr. Harry Jones. You used to own an automobile, but you sold it some weeks back.
You're Smelly Clark, huh?
I'm Smelly Clark, and I know you sold your automobile.
All right.
Well, by gosh, if it ain't Harry Jones. How are you, Harry?
Just fine.
I'm feeling good myself. Say, Harry, pardon the personal nature of the question, but I haven't seen you riding around much in your car lately.
I sold my car.
You did?
Sold it some weeks back.
Well, if that ain't rotten luck for you.
What's the matter?
I ordered a special high-powered spotlight from Miller's Garage.
That's so?
Yeah. But they'll give me my money back. I can buy something else just as easy as not. Forget we had this conversation, Harry.
All right.
How you like that variation?
It's terrible.
Oh, I don't know. Wait till Christmas morning when you see Smelly wallowing around in about 200 presents.
If that's the only way I could get Christmas presents, I'd let the whole thing slide.
Smelly thinks of it as a game.
Some game.
And Smelly expects to receive at least 40 presents just on the strength of the compliments he's always given people.
Is he giving people compliments these days?
Pours on the compliments like axle grease and peach butter.
Vic-n-sade from November 21st, 1939. It ran intermittently on radio from 1932 until 1946, and probably the original Seinfeld, a radio show about nothing. Thank you for tuning in. I have a webpage, classicradio.stream. If you care to learn more about classic radio collecting, that's classicradio.stream. And please thank this station and their advertisers, because we certainly do. On many stations, we have another hour straight ahead. If you're with us, we look forward to the pleasure of your company. If you leave us at this time, please accept our warmest wishes for a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous 2022.